we have to show these pathways. So I think we're at a very interesting and very cool transition of our narrative from what you and I have been doing about only focusing on the kids and the parents and the school districts. Now we also have to start pitching to our shops. Hey, this is how you can contribute to this effort. Let's get positions opened up for these kids so they can grow with you. We'll give them the training. They just need a paycheck, right?
Yep. And they need a paycheck better than they can get at McDonald's.
100%. Yep.
He said, you ought to go and apply for this. And I said, Mom, Dad doesn't want me in the trades. He always threatened to kill us if any of us went into the trades. You guys are better than this. Stay out of the trades. I could just run faster than him.
Some people are born with it, right? And I think that just speaks to that talent, that skill set you have as a leader. Med Device Boston is your go-to med tech sourcing and education expo, September 30th through October 1st at Boston's BCEC. Engineered to advance a next generation of medical device innovation, this event unites 200 plus suppliers, 1,500 plus attending professionals, and OEM decision makers in the number 3 med tech hub in the US. Explore everything from 3D printing and AI to materials, regulatory tech, and contract manufacturing, all under one roof. Visit meddeviceboston.com to register and plan your visit. Links in the show notes. Today's guest is Scott Peters. If you've ever tried to keep a shop running with too many molds, too few people, and a customer who needs everything yesterday, this guy is going to feel like home. Scott started as a mold maker in the early 80s, old school benches, drafting tables, tool makers who'd tell you the truth, whether you wanted it or not. And then he went global. China, the States, thousands of active molds, massive tooling budgets, automation projects that either made heroes or got people fired. He's seen every version of chaos a manufacturer can live through. He's also one of the rare people who will tell you what works and what doesn't without putting any spit and polish on it. This episode is about the real stuff: responsibility, grit, decisions that keep you up at night, the pressure of leading people, the pride of building things that outlast you. And for 4 decades, the trade teaches you about culture on the floor and the future of plastics. So folks, settle in. This is one of those conversations that will leave you nodding, laughing, and maybe calling your shop foreman afterwards. Let's get into it. Scott Peters, welcome to the Manufacturing Culture Podcast, man. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Jim. Thanks for having me on today. I really have been looking forward to this conversation. It's been 6 months now since we first chatted on Tony's show.
Yeah,
so absolutely. Yeah, this is going to be an exciting conversation. I hope I live up to the intro.
Oh man, you will. Just our conversation before I hit the record button, and shame on me for not just restarting the record when we jump into Riverside here, but we just talked about what this episode's really all about: planned obsolescence, plastics, the impacts, and what people are talking about. We had a great conversation before we even hit record. We're gonna have a great conversation now that we're recording. So Scott, I think since you and I first talked about this, my intro questions have changed a little bit. So The first icebreaker I have is, if your life were a movie, what genre would it be? Who plays you? And what's the opening scene?
So if my life were a movie, that's a really good question. I guess the genre would be travelogue. Because if you look at my CV, I was early on in my career, I was bouncing from point A to point B to point C, and I've literally worked coast to coast, north to south, and around the world. Yeah. So yeah, it's a travelogue. Tom Selleck would play me because we look so much alike, right?
Fucking A, right. I can buy that.
I'm sorry. I think
I said I buy that all day. Yes.
I think it would be a nod. People would just
Just a snooze fest?
I think so. I mean, after you hear about somebody's travel here and there and how they've done their career, you kind of go, okay, ho hum, here we go. Same old stuff, you know. Oh, great me. No, it's not great me because really, I will say I've had great fortune through my career of having people who mentored me and believed in me, people who looked at me and said, "Hey, he can read a spreadsheet. Let's let him do things here," and then I've capitalized on those opportunities. But
Sure.
you know, for some people, it might be a snooze fest. But for others, it
Got it.
might be, "Ooh, this guy's got something to say here. Let's listen."
I think it would be pretty fascinating. We met on Tony DeMakis's show. Or after the show, you interacted with us quite a bit, and then we hit it off almost instantaneously, and became fast friends. And you've sent me a bunch of stuff. I still am digging through that research report you put together over at SPE. That thing's pretty phenomenal. Got a whole lot of great information and data in it. So I'll give you more feedback as I finish it up. But yeah, I don't think people would snooze, man. I think they would find this riveting. And I'll tell you why. Because I have yet to meet, and I said this earlier this week, I've yet to meet anybody in any vertical of manufacturing who has had a linear pathway to where they are today, right? And your pathway is going to validate late stage career individuals who are mid to late stage of their career and say, well, why am I still doing this? It validates those career paths that they've already been through. But it also takes those young people, that next generation, and says, you can do any of this shit. You don't have to follow one path in this industry to have a fulfilling career. So I think people would look at your story and just be captivated, man. But that's just an outsider looking in.
And I appreciate that, Jim. And I think that's part of why you and I hit it off, aside from the fact that we both have glib senses of humor and get along very well. Right. But it's that passion for the industry and for trying to draw in next gen manufacturing.
Absolutely.
Because I'm a firm believer, as I believe you are, if we can't make it, we can't defend it.
Yep.
So if we can't
100%.
manufacture our own goods, our country becomes in critical peril.
Yep.
So I'm all about young people getting into manufacturing, whether it's as a manufacturing engineer, if you're a college path, or if you're a guy or a gal, can't be gender biased, a person
You're right.
on the bench, cranking the handles, which is so passe, right?
Yeah.
People, I hear parents talking about their kids going into the skilled trades, and it's like, no, my son's not going into a blacksmith shop. My daughter's not going, but it's not a blacksmith shop.
Right.
Within 6 months, they're running $500,000 CNC equipment that's turning out chips like we've never even thought of.
Yep.
And that's what you and I are all about. We want to make sure there's people standing in line for those jobs.
Absolutely, man. And we're getting there. I mean, we're getting to a point where apprenticeship programs for machining are going on wait lists, which is phenomenal. Now we've got to work on getting some of these shops to a point where they're set up to take on that next gen talent, right? Because it's a whole different mindset when you take on an apprentice versus somebody who has 3 to 5 or 15 years experience, right? And that's how a lot of the job descriptions are written right now. And that's what a lot of the postings are looking for, is that I'm looking for 3 to 5 years, or I'm looking for 10 to 15 years. Very rarely am I seeing job postings, we're hiring entry-level machinists. And so I think we need to start working on the shops now just as much as we are on the parents and the youth, to have positions available because what's going to
Agreed.
damage us worse, right? Now we have a pipeline that's getting excited about this. If they don't see a pathway, then they're going to say, oh, well, it's close enough to
Might as well be
construction.
a blacksmith shop.
Yeah, exactly. Or I can go over and do construction and be done in 9 months, or I can go into the pipe fitters union and be done in 13 months or whatever it is, right? So
Right.
we have to show these pathways. So I think we're at a very interesting and very cool transition of our narrative from what you and I have been doing about only focusing on the kids and the parents and the school districts. Now we also have to start pitching to our shops. Hey, this is how you can contribute to this effort. Let's get positions opened up for these kids so they can grow with you. We'll give them the training. They just need a paycheck, right? So,
yep. And they need a paycheck better than they can get at McDonald's.
100%. Yep.
At least they need to see in their mind's eye, okay, I'm starting at $12.50 an hour as an first day apprentice XYZ machinist.
Yep.
When I apprenticed, I don't know about you, but when I apprenticed, we had a clear pathway. Every 90 days, we got our performance review under the Department of Labor.
Yep.
And every 90 days, if we did our job, and there's the key, if we did our job, we could rely on getting $0.25 an hour. Until at the end of our 10,000 hours, we were at 95% of a journey level wage for the skill mold maker. If we don't, if there's so many shops today, and I don't mean to take a swipe at them, but there's so many shops that if they don't show that career pathway, that progression in income, and they're telling the guys, oh, you're going to make $35, that'll be the tops. Might as well stay at McDonald's.
Absolutely.
I can be a manager at McDonald's and make $35 an hour, and all I have to ask is, you want fries with your Coke?
Yep.
That's all I mean,
the first thing I do with owners when I start working with an organization is I put them in my car and we drive around, and I show them the Amazon warehouse that inevitably is nearby that's paying people $22 to go throw boxes at doors. Yeah. If Amazon's paying people $22 to throw boxes at doors, or you can get a job at McDonald's for $25 flipping burgers, why would somebody want to come into your shop as a debur or an apprentice or anything like that for $17 an hour? True enough. So, all right.
If there's no future, there's no future, right?
Exactly. So, folks, ladies and gentlemen listening, I told you this was going to be a freaking fun conversation. Scott, second icebreaker. This one you did know about. What is your definition of culture? So we all know what the like dictionary definition is, but what I've found over the last 4.5 years is culture is very individualistic. People have their own idea of what it means. So what does culture mean to you?
So I'm going to qualify it. It's culture in the workplace. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, it does spill over into the home, but typically because we spend so much time in the workplace, I'll start there. Culture in the workplace is a place where there is open and honest communication with respect. So I spent 10 years in China, 7 of those managing a 300-person factory. And you want to know about culture? Try taking that culture into a top-down organization where every decision has to be made at the top and everybody stands, yes, boss, yes, boss, yes, boss. I upset their apple cart, but I think at the end of 7 years in Guangzhou, the people will tell you they were better for it.
Okay.
And it's that we'd stand in a staff meeting, in a stand-up meeting, or in a cross-functional meeting, and I'd say, listen, if you're all going to agree with me 100% of the time, one of us isn't necessary.
Right.
So you can tell me if I'm wrong with respect, and I'll tell you if I think you're wrong with that same respect. I will not be dictatorial, and I will not accept somebody screaming and shouting at me.
I
And
love it.
we had, I will say, we had 7 of the best years of my now 50-year career in plastics.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's back up. Because you have a pretty cool origin story. You went from the Marines
Yep.
into mold making. So what pulled you into the trade? What took you out of the Marine Corps into mold making?
So my father was dually addicted. He, he was a tool and die maker, mold maker.
Got it. Got it.
And I got out of the Corps and was working on a shipping dock, going nowhere fast.
Wow.
And God love her, my mother was reading the Chicago Tribune and in the want ads. And at that time, when you read the Trib want ads, they were about that thick. Now they're for their page, you got a lot.
Yeah.
And she came across an ad for an apprentice mold maker designer at Monogram Models. Now, if you've ever built model cars, you know Monogram Models. They did the Weirdo cars, the B-26 Billy Mitchell bombers, and all the rest, right? So she saw that and she said, "You ought to go and apply for this." And I said, "Mom, Dad doesn't want me in the trades. He always threatened to kill us if any of us went into the trades. You guys are better than this. Stay out of the trades." I could just run faster than him. So she made a phone call to a family friend. Now, our family friend was the founder of Progressive Components.
Oh,
his name is Don Starkey. You know Progressive Components? They're at that time it was D&L Incorporated.
Yeah.
And D&L Incorporated stood for Don and Lois, husband and wife, running a mold component sales business out of the basement of their house. And she said, "Don, there's an opportunity at Monogram Models for an apprentice mold designer, mold maker. What do you think about Scott taking that job?" And his exact words were, "If he doesn't take it, he's stupid. Because when he learns how to do this job, he can go anywhere in the industry."
Yeah.
And that's how I got into the industry.
I love it.
I interviewed with the vice president of the company on a phone interview, and he says, "Well, you know what a sprue is?" And I didn't hear well. I said, "Oh yeah, 1/4 20, 5/16, 18." He said, "No, a sprue." I said, "No, I don't know what a sprue is."
I can just see you holding up a 1/4 20 like hex nut or something. Yeah.
Yeah, socket head cap screw. Here you go, grade 5. Of course, this was in the late 70s, so we didn't have video conferencing at that time.
Right.
Heck, we didn't have home computers.
Right.
But that was how I got into it. And it turns out that the vice president of tool engineering's daughter and I went to middle school together. So we already knew each other. We just didn't know each other.
Yep.
So that's how I got into it. And I found it fascinating. I found it fun.
What were the shops like in those early years? Paint us a picture of what a shop was like in the late 70s, early 80s.
So in the late 70s, most shops, CNC was not there, right?
Right.
We had pantographs and decals. If you had a GK21 and somebody who could make a master model and a follow board, you could make a mold.
Yeah.
We didn't have EDM.
Right.
And I mean, EDM was there. It was a die maker's tool, not a mold maker's tool. My God, what would you do with an EDM machine?
Right.
Little did we know we'd do a lot with them. You had all, 2-axis knee mills. Maybe you had a Drupenrind or some other kind of a hydraulic true trace duplicator on a big mill. And that's what, it followed the contours, and that's how you built molds.
Wow. That's
so
awesome.
they were not the best places by today's standards, but the shops I worked at, Monogram was well equipped and well lit. It wasn't a dungeon. And what was kind of cool was I got to go out on the floor and see the molds sampled. and then take a sample shot and try to put the molded parts together into that model car before it ever hit the marketplace.
That's
So you
awesome.
got to go from design to the pattern shop, to the mold shop, to the molding room, to debugging and trials. And you got to see the whole process all in one place.
That's
Way
so
cool.
cool. So cool.
Yeah.
When
Now
did you
that industry's
first?
all but gone, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I tried to find a model car for my kid the other day, and it's either there's you either have to go to a specialty hobby shop or
Mm-hmm.
you buy the cheap shit from Target. There's no like in between that I
You
found.
can go, I will say you can go to Hobby Lobby.
Okay.
They usually have a pretty good sampling of kits.
Okay.
And if you really want to get the Class A kits, now Monogram, I worked there. I worked at Revell. They make
Yeah.
good molds. They make good models. But if you get a Tamiya or Hasegawa, they were
Yeah.
always the Cadillacs.
Right. Okay.
Those were the Japanese kits.
Yeah.
So if you had a 15,000 shutoff for the air vanes in a jet engine, Revell and Monogram would just put depressions. Tamiya and Hasegawa would put shutoffs.
Got it. Okay. Good to know. I like it. So when did you first feel the weight of the industry that you had gotten into and the responsibility and the pride that comes from working in this industry?
Shortly after I completed my first drawing.
Okay.
If you read Mold Making Technology, Christina's got a new series called Shop Talk.
Yeah.
And I did a piece for her in Shop Talk. It was called From Pigpen to Management, because my drawing was considered a pigpen drawing. It had so much smudging that we had to cut the entire center out of the vellum, put down a new piece of vellum, and then tape it back in from the back side so that we could use the drawing.
Okay.
Oh yeah, talk about a nervous kid with HB graphite and just smearing it from one side of an E-size vellum to another. That was me. And I took it off and I showed my boss, and he goes, "Oh boy."
That's
yeah,
great.
but at that point, I saw that what I was drawing was being converted into steel, and from steel into plastic parts that were on the shelf for Johnny and Billy and Bobby and whoever to buy and take home, put together. And I'd walk through, at that time it was Kmart or Kresge's, and see my stuff on the shelf. And then you get a little, I did that. And it only got better, right? It only got better as I changed industries. So the toy industry was cool. It was a lot of fun. I got involved in, I remember designing the Kodak disc camera molds. So that goes back a while ago.
Absolutely.
Okay? These were not floppy disks. This was when the film was mounted in a fiberboard disc and would index. And I remember we started on the design with revision level like C, and we completed at double Z. And this was all on the board, right? We didn't have CAD. But I learned so much in doing that from Eastman Kodak about datum planes and establishing datum planes, even on a 2D drawing, so that people could do what they had to do, right?
Yeah.
And that was cool. Then I got into medical devices, and medical device industry is where it kept me up at night, because the things I was involved with did impact people's lives.
Yep.
When you talk about somebody who unfortunately had to have a colostomy or a urostomy, and the devices you're involved in the manufacture of allow them a more normal semblance of life post-op. Wow, now that's something.
Absolutely.
So,
So you went, you mentioned earlier, I mentioned in the intro, you have run operations in the US and China and been around the world. What lessons did you learn the hard way in the running of operations outside of the US versus how they're run here?
So yeah, it's while they want you to be very dictatorial, there's that culture change, right? They want you to tell them exactly what to do.
Yeah.
And if you are not a dictatorial person, I mean, I'm a command person. I have no problem giving direct orders, but I expect people to think past the nose on their face.
Ah, yes.
And so that that can be kind of hard in that culture, right? They're like, but boss, you tell me what to do, I do. No, I want you to think, man. You're a degreed engineer.
Yeah.
You may be thinking, why do I need to attend Med Device Boston? Because you're going to do more than browse. You'll build your pipeline. You'll see, you'll touch, and you'll engage with innovative solutions from 200 plus suppliers while participating in hands-on workshops, expert-led education sessions, and curated matchmaking, all engineered to accelerate your projects. Whether you're solving design, regulatory, or production challenges, Med Device gives you key conversations, timely insights, and the tools to move forward. Med Device Boston. Advance your pipeline, advance your network, advance what's next.
Yeah. And I think we still see that. And I think we're seeing more of that here in the US with social media coming out. People aren't critically thinking as much as they used to inside and outside of the workplace. Do you think I'm off base?
Critical thinking is a skill that has to be encouraged. You know, it's easy to sit back and say, okay, boss, you said go from here to there and turn right and go 3 steps and turn left. I don't have to think. Now, if you tell me I have to get from here to there, and I have to think about how to get from here to there in a given period of time, you know, there has to be some boundaries.
Yep.
It may be time, it may be resources, but the job is mine to do. That requires critical thinking.
Yep.
At a certain level. I worked in a shop here in Akron from 94 to 2003. 2005. Long time. I was vice president of engineering and sales. And the owner of the shop was old school German.
Okay.
I mean, his name was Stefan Karl Schler.
Oh yeah, that very old school German. Absolutely.
He was my age, but he came over with his parents and his brother and his sister, and all they had everything that family owned in a steamer trunk.
Wow.
And he built a business. And there was a culture shift we went through where we ceased telling people they had to be at work from 6:30 to 6:30.
Oh.
The culture shift allowed people to come to work as long as they covered core hours from 9 to 3.
Okay.
And they could take off in the middle of the day, go play golf, go fishing, do whatever they wanted to do, but they had to meet certain criteria. And one of them was, if the mold's due on May 5th, don't come to me on May 3rd and say you need 2 more weeks if you've been off playing golf. Right?
Fair enough.
So that requires critical thinking on beyond the scope of normal mold making of the 1990s and early 2000s.
Yep.
Because now we're expecting the mold maker to manage his time.
Yep.
And that's something people don't do well.
No.
In many instances. No, I mean, heck, I was 10 minutes late for our call. I wasn't managing my time.
That's hilarious. So I mean, let's touch on this a little bit more. You worked overseas, you worked domestically, but through the time of offshoring And I've got a big hypothesis or thesis that I'm working on right now, where a lot of what we face today, whether it be the skills gap or capacity issues or any of that, can all be linked back to offshoring that happened in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. And we talked a little bit about, you know, that skills gap and that mindset about, you know, finding young people. I think that when we started offshoring, and this is the data that I'm gathering right now, but when we started offshoring and simultaneously telling kids, like your dad did, don't get into trades. But then we also, when we offshored, we created a bit of generational trauma that then was passed down to next generations when we pulled jobs out of Baltimore, when Baltimore Steel left, when we pulled jobs out of Bethlehem, PA, when Bethlehem Steel left, when the automotive work left Detroit, when the semiconductor stuff left Arizona. And now we're going back to these communities, these underserved communities, and saying, hey, we want you to come back and work in these industries. And they're giving us a big middle finger and telling us where we can put those jobs because they're not, seeing that their long-standing careers anymore, because they got ripped away the last time. What was it like working in the mold making industry in that era of offshoring, where jobs could be pulled and moved overseas in a day or week or a month?
So I'm first one to tell you, I was vehemently opposed to the offshoring of mold making jobs.
Yeah.
I was active with the NTMA. I was active with the NIMS group and trying to train the next generation and saying, hey, leave those people in China, figure out their own business, right?
Yeah.
And sadly, it continued to erode. I mean, in 96, I remember being very, 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 very vocal within the ranks of SPE about offshoring of mold making and how it was damaging our industry and how people, heck, I moved to Akron in 1989 from Fort Lauderdale as a regional sales manager for Hasco Internorm, Hassenclaver and Company from Ludenscheid. Now they outsource all the time, right? And I remember being in Akron and being able to spend 3 solid days going from mold shop to mold shop to mold shop and not visiting them all. Today, if I spend 3 hours in Akron, I've wasted 2 because there's no mold shops.
Wow.
They're gone. I mean, we've still got Acromold, and Jeff Glick and his team at Acromold do a great job of building composite tooling for the aerospace industry. That's their market. They've gone away from plastic injection molds, but heck,
have they really?
Rubbermaid was 6 miles from my house, and Rubbermaid's gone.
Yeah.
It's all
Rubbermaid's
offshore.
That's not gone off the shelves. It's still available.
No, it's not
for
gone
us
off
to
the shelf, but it's not in Worcester, Ohio.
Right. Those jobs are gone.
Those jobs are gone. And so people look around, and I agree with what you said. People look around and they go, well, shoot, my dad was a tool maker. And at 55, he got downsized. And at 65, he was told he couldn't work anymore because there were no jobs. And, I fully understand that. And so, I think the underlying question you've got here is, how do we attract that next generation? How do we get them over that hurdle? Yeah. And it requires a very compelling and engaging story. Yeah. One that shows there's a future. Because if the future is cranking handles for the rest of your life, now, and that's fine. There are people who are great at that, and that's what they love to do. They get turned on by it, and by all means, God bless you for doing it. Mm-hmm. But if you want to do something that's going to change the world, one person at a time, there's no finer way to do it than in the skilled trades as a mold maker or a precision machinist, because everything you touch goes to somebody's next level.
Yep. Absolutely. And these younger generations are motivated by that greater good, that sense of the greater good. They want to know that what they're doing is contributing in a way that millennial Gen Xers didn't really have. You had that sense from baby boomers and from the greatest generation because of the world wars that we fought, and the sense of pride that came from, you didn't have to go overseas to fight in a war to fight in the war effort, right? And
Absolutely. Without Rosie the Riveter, we'd have lost.
100%. But we didn't have that for Gen X, right?
No.
We didn't have that sense for millennials. And all of a sudden, we didn't have world wars that caused this. We had, for Gen Z and Gen Alpha coming up, we've had multiple financial catastrophes. And I think that has led them to look at a sense of a greater good, similarly that the greatest generation and baby boomers had with the world wars that were fought in their youth. So I think that if we as an industry start telling much more compelling stories and change the narrative from you stand at a machine and you punch out parts to these parts that you're punching out, these molds that you're making, these brackets that you're fabricating, these are going into airplanes, into submarines, into the medical devices that are going to prolong your grandma and grandpa's mobility, right? When we start having that narrative, I think it changes that dynamic a little bit. Do you think I'm off base?
Absolutely. I'm working with a customer in Denver. The company name is Harvest Today. And Harvest Today is into vertical agriculture, right? Now, the reason vertical agriculture is cool is we have finite resources. There's just so much land on the earth, right? And if you can take what otherwise takes 10 acres of flat and put it into a quarter acre of vertical, and then you conserve the water, because
That's
now
brilliant.
You don't have to water 10 acres of flat. You just do drip irrigation through the system. Oh my gosh,
Brilliant.
How wonderful is that? And then you take that system and put it in somebody's house, and they're now getting fresh nutrients right out of their vegetable garden in their basement or in their wherever, that they can take. Because if I listen to my buddy at Harvest Today, 90% of the nutrients in the salads that we buy at Walmart or, Myers or whatever supermarket, right? 90% of the nutrient was gone within 3 days of being harvested. You're eating water. There's nothing there.
Oh my God.
So now if you pick it and you put it on the plate, you've got all the nutrient available in that plant material.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
Yeah. And you can do this in your house. You can do it. We're working on some projects around the globe right now that are huge, mega farms.
Wow.
We've got one that we're working on. It's going to be a 4-story building of vertical agriculture.
And how many cities do we know in urban areas like Akron or Phoenix or that have old industrial buildings that are no longer in use? What a great place.
There you go. Or how about we're in Phoenix and we have low natural water table.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to get fresh food.
Yep.
One thing people can never live without: 2 things, water and food.
Yep.
And you'll die faster without water than you will without food, but you will die.
Yep.
So if you're in Phoenix and you've got this ability to grow your food and harvest it in your backyard or harvest it in your garage or wherever, and you're conserving water, you're meeting the eco plan of the system of the global green deal.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's good for you. So that's the kind of cool stuff mold
That's
makers
awesome.
and molders and entrepreneurial inventors come up with. And we
I love
touch
it.
the world and we make it a better place.
So we've centered this conversation a lot around young people. Do you have any stories of a young person that you mentored through their career or through a moment in their career, and how it shifted potentially your view of that next generation? Because every generation looks at the younger generations, and I mean, I did an entire talk about it a couple of months ago, where I pulled up from 1960 to present day headlines out of newspapers that said nobody wants to work anymore in some variation, right? We all look at the younger generations and think that they don't want to work. Have you mentored somebody in your long spanning career that changed the way that you look at the youth, or have you always looked at the youth and said, this is our next generation of talent?
No, I've raised 3 kids. I'll be honest. I look at them and say they don't want to work, and I say that it's kind of glib. At a certain level, I mean it, but at another level, they're my kids, right? So I
Right.
can say it, but God help you if you do.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but I have had the opportunity to take people from where they are, and through a nurturing and a reinforcement, change their lives. And I consider that mentoring. I remember I had 3 quality ladies in China that were working for me. And one of them was of childbearing age. And she came in and said she needed her 18 months off so she could have her baby.
Yep.
And I said, oh, okay, cool. And her manager came in and said, well, what are we going to do? We need this girl. I said, oh, I know a girl. He says, what do you mean you know a girl? I said, no, we've got a girl in the assembly department that will be perfect
Okay.
to learn this over the next 3 months. She will not be as good today and probably still not as good in 3 months, but she'll pick it up. And he said, oh, you sure? And I said, well, let me talk to her and see what she's got to say. So I got my administrative assistant and I brought the girl in out of the assembly department. And I said, I have a new opportunity for you.
Okay.
And she said, she was terrified, right? Absolutely terrified. But what her exact question, what if I fail? To which I responded, if I chose you for a position and I put you in a position and you fail, it's me.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to fail. I'm not going to allow it. I'm going to continue to encourage and guide you to be the best you can be.
Yeah.
So she took the job. 18 months goes by. The other girl comes back. And I'm like, okay, you're going to stay in quality. You're that good. She said, no. She wrote me a letter. I've got it somewhere in my desk here. She wrote me a letter as she was resigning because she was going to go and start a hair studio.
Interesting.
And her letter said to me, I would never have considered doing something different with my life had it not been for you encouraging me to try quality assurance.
I love that.
You gave me the confidence to do something. And you can't see it. You might hear my voice crack, but that touched me because it impacted her. And that was just one instance of a young person who, once I got her past herself and into the, I can do this, it was go, man, go. So I have a different view. I believe young people can do anything given the right amount of encouragement.
Yeah. Well, and I think you were born with that innate leadership talent that you have, that has made you successful over the course of your career, right? Some people have to learn it. Some people are born with it, right? And I think that just speaks to that talent, that skill set you have as a leader. So along those lines, what advice would you give to a shop owner who wants to prepare themselves for the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I wouldn't abandon everything that got you to where you're at today.
Okay.
But I would definitely take stock of where you're at and where you could be if your entire team was fully engaged in what they're doing.
Okay.
You know, from the janitor to the chief engineer, they all need to be engaged in their job to make your company successful. And if you're going to make sure they're engaged, recognize small successes and let small failures be addressed offline.
I like it. I like it.
So I was the kind of manager I was a manager walking around, and I'm in a shop of 300 Chinese nationals, very few of who spoke any English, right? And I would walk past the line of 28 molding machines, and I'd hear the check ring snap on a machine, and I'd call the molding manager over and say, "You're going to break the check ring." He'd say, "How you know, boss?" I said, "Well, the machine is speaking to me. It's telling me you're running cold material." And he says, "No, boss, we run faster." 2 days later, he's coming in my office with a broken check ring, and he needs a new check ring and screw tip. Conversely, I'd walk by and I'd see 3 operators separating parts from runners. And I'd call the manager over and say, "Why are we paying 3 people to do this job?" "Well, boss, we have to separate." I say, "Yeah, but you got a sprue picker.
Yeah.
So at least you can get the runners out and we can figure out how to separate." Come back the next day, and his technician had figured out how to use the sprue picker with a Venturi vacuum to separate the part, the runner, and the third part.
I love it.
You know what I did? I reached in my pocket and I handed him 100 RMB note.
Okay.
And I said, "This is for you." And he says, the manager's like, "Boss, you can't do that." I said, "Why?" "Well, everybody will want it." I said, "If everybody does what he did, everybody will get it. I have no problem doing that."
Yes.
And then I had him set up a wall of fame. So, you know, Chinese people are very self-effacing. They don't want any publicity for what they do. I just do my job.
Yep.
I had him write up the problem and the solution, take pictures of the individual, and put it on the company bulletin board outside my office so that everybody in the company could see it.
Interesting.
And what I found was, if I recognize small successes, everybody wants to hear "good job."
Absolutely.
They will replicate small successes.
Yep.
If I recognize failures, people are going to continue to do failures, and they're very easy to find, but they're not going to do the successes that feel good.
I love
So
that.
recognize the small successes, applaud them, celebrate them. You know, Tony DeMakis has his Wrestler Mania belt that he gives around every month. And sometimes I think, well, that's a little cheesy because I am still old school. But I look at the results of what he's doing at Alliance, and I look at the results of what Scott Phipps is doing in the same manner at United Tool down in Easley, South Carolina.
Yeah.
And I think, okay, it does work
Mm-hmm.
because nobody wants to be a goat.
Yep.
Everybody likes to be a hero.
Yep.
And if you're a hero for a day with that belt, God love you. You did your job. Good on you.
Yep. I work with shops, and one of the things I do with them a lot of times, most of the time, is we do what I call shop floor Shark Tank. And so I divide the, company into teams. No team can have more than one person from the same department. They talk about the issues in their department and what challenges they face, and then they pick one of those to solve. And sometimes it's, as simple as we need a new parts washing table, right? Or as intricate as we need a new 5-axis machine. But they then have to take that solution, research, ROI, and they have to pitch it to the owners and to me in front of the rest of the company.
You're doing a mini black belt.
Exactly. But you call it Shark Tank and they think it's cool. They don't know that it's a lean process. They don't know that it's a black belt walk. They don't know any of this. But what they're doing is they're giving the shop owner 8 to 10, maybe 12 ideas of what the shop floor is saying. The winner then goes up on the wall in the facility holding, I have a giant wrench that I'll buy and I spray paint them gold and I hand that to the winner. They win the Golden Wrench Award and then they're put on the wall and they're celebrated, right? So it's not a big thing, right? But it's a real thing and they love it. Everybody loves the shop floor Shark Tank when we do it. So yeah, I think you have to celebrate those small wins, those small successes.
Yeah. And so let's say you're in contract manufacturing and not necessarily in precision, one-off mold making, right? And you've got people who are doing the same job day in and day out. Listen to them.
Yes.
Ask them what would make their job easier or better. And then listen to what they tell you. You don't have to do it. Sometimes the answer is still no. It's just not feasible because of cost constraints or whatever. But listen to them and then validate what they tell you by mirroring the discussion.
Yes.
You and I were talking earlier and you asked me about young people and on and on. And I mirrored back to you by saying, I think your underlying question is this.
Yes.
Do that with your team and be amazed at the insights you get back from them.
Absolutely.
Because nobody knows how to do the job any better than the operator that's doing it today.
Yeah. So what's the future of mold making look like, Scott?
Oh, man, it is an exciting time in mold making around the globe. I mean, the industry is changing by leaps and bounds. Last month, I was at the Kunststoff show in Dusseldorf. Kunststoff is plastics show. It's the K show, the world's largest plastic show. And when I walked the floor in the mold making pavilion, now they got 18 pavilions, 18 halls. Wow. It's an 8-day conference.
Oh,
it runs over the weekend. It's unbelievable.
Okay.
But when I walked the floor, there was so much additive manufacturing being used in everything from molds, cavities and cores, to hot runner systems, to components. It was just unbelievable. So additive is going to be big.
Okay.
As we continue to refine it and make it better. And mold makers are going to continue to push the envelope, making the industry get better, right? That's what mold makers do. Yep. And then the other thing is, artificial intelligence. We keep hearing about it. And we keep hearing, I was talking to somebody earlier this week, and he said, listen, I had a shop of mold designers and programmers, 28 guys. I have 3. And we do the same amount of work through artificial intelligence. So if you're a mold designer, you're a mold maker, and you're not continuing to learn about the next great thing and applying the next level of technology, shame on you. You're going to get you're going to get passed over. It's not going to be downsized. You're just going to get run over.
Yeah.
If you're a journey level mold maker and you know something about mold making and teach the next generation, give back. through the SPE, we have 4 international awards we provide every year. The Mold Technologies Division, 4
Okay.
awards: a
That's
mold
awesome.
maker of the year, a mold designer of the year, a mold repair technician of the year, and an apprentice of the year. Well, how
I
much
love
can an apprentice give back? The apprentice can't give much. Well, he can give a lot back because he sets the bar for the next apprentice, right?
Yep.
But they each receive $1,000 stipend.
Okay.
And the mold maker, mold designer, and repair have to designate a training center that $1,000 goes to
I love
in their
that.
name.
I love that.
The apprentice, he because an apprentice is different,
Yeah.
he gets $500 in-kind donation in the form of tools for his toolbox or her toolbox.
Awesome.
Tax-free.
That's awesome.
What apprentice can't use $500 in tools for their box, right?
And
The second thing they get,
yeah.
they get $500 in cash that they can use however they want. They want to hold a beer bash in the parking lot to celebrate their success? Great. Good on you. You want to buy books to learn more about CNC programming? Great. Good on you. And
That's
then beyond
awesome.
that, however they want to use it. So and we recognize them. It is such a big deal. I hope you can make PT Expo in March.
I've got it on the list. I will make it happen. It will be a good show. I'm looking forward to that one.
So on Wednesday afternoon, in our booth, the SPE booth, we will name for the first time the mold maker, mold designer, mold repair, and apprentice of the year for 2026. And we will present the awards in the booth in front of media. And it is, I mean, Gardner Media Group is all over this.
Yeah.
Then beyond that, we give money away. We can't get young people who are apprentices completing. If you're an apprentice completing your apprenticeship and you're going to get your journey level credentials, why not convert those journey level credentials into an associate's in manufacturing technology? Well, I can tell you why most won't. It's money, right?
Yeah.
We've got money for that. We've got scholarship money. Just apply.
That's awesome. And that's a national program, right?
Yes, it's international.
Okay.
It's international. Here, I'm going to show you this. Here you go. I'm going to send it to you, Jim, so you've got it. This is the
perfect
official fall 2025 book. It's 50 pages. But this is our newsletter. Awesome. On top of that, I'm going to send you this. Here you go. Form your future. If you've if you're watching this, if someone's watching this and they've got young people who don't know what they want to do, they're third year in high school, and they're like, well, I don't know what I want to do. Hey, take an apprenticeship.
Yeah. Yes.
Do your apprenticeship. I'm not saying degrees are bad. I'm saying, why not get your degree paid for?
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
You get your apprenticeship, you've got money coming in. You're getting paid to learn. And everything you put your hands on affects somebody else's life.
I love it. Scott, this has been an awesome conversation, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Scott Peters. He's been a Marine. He's been a mold maker. He's been a global manufacturing leader, and he's a guy who earned every scar and every story that he shared today. What I took away from our conversation was trust your people, reward them, talk to them, take time out of your day to intentionally involve them in the decision-making that you go through every day. Build systems that hold up on bad days. Know your vendors, right? We didn't even really get into vendors, but know your vendors. Remember that the shop and the industry rises and falls on the culture that you build when nobody else is looking. Scott, thank you so much for being here today, my friend. I do look forward to meeting you in person at and having a beer in March at PT Expo. I got to get my friends at Gardner Business Media to give me a media pass to that, and then we're off to the races. So, Bryce Ellis, if you're listening,
You don't need a media pass. I'll give you a free pass in the book.
Sold. Fantastic. Scott, you're the
And I'll
man.
buy you a beer on Wednesday night.
Done. All right. Well, thanks,
Done.
Scott. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
You may be thinking, why do I need to attend Med Device Boston? Because you're going to do more than browse. You'll build your pipeline. You'll see, you'll touch, and you'll engage with innovative solutions from 200 plus suppliers while participating in hands-on workshops, expert-led education sessions, and curated matchmaking, all engineered to accelerate your projects. Whether you're solving design, regulatory, or production challenges, Med Device gives you key conversations, timely insights, and the tools to move forward. Med Device Boston. Advance your pipeline, advance your network, advance what's next.